Hello, greetings, denizens of the internet. I am here to talk about a little bit about my very negative experience with AA. Before I launch to it though, I want to a little disclaimer. This is just my experience with one AA meeting, like one regular meeting that happens local to me in Virginia. I did. I went to a couple AA meetings when I lived in Vermont, and from that, I can tell you that they're not all like this. So it's not. This isn't about my any sort of beef that I have with AA. Although I do have some stuff to say about why I don't think it works for everybody. Don't see. I wouldn't want more than that. And it tastes really good. It's got sort of like ginger-y, kind of sweet, kind of herbal. Tastes really good. Wow, maybe I spent too much time talking about that. On to the AA thing. Well, okay, maybe another disclaimer. Oh yeah. I don't think that the word alcoholic is very useful unless somebody is telling you that they are an alcoholic and they are comfortable with that word applying to them. Because, like, one of these weird almost contradictions that I saw in AA is like, if AA doesn't help you drink less, it usually, they seem to believe that it means that you're not trying, and that, but nobody, they don't like the idea of you don't go to AA anymore because you're not an alcoholic, or you don't go to AA anymore because it doesn't work for you. So I've never been comfortable saying that I am or am not an alcoholic. I have a problematic relationship with alcohol. I have a problematic history with substances in general. However, I have had no good things come from just deciding not to do it anymore. Oh shit. She's figured out how to turn it on. I got her this interactive ball, and it whirs and it moves, and now she's turned it on her own. I gotta fix that. So when I started going to AA pseudo regularly, which was in late spring, early summer, I was in a really, really bad place. I was fighting this eviction. I couldn't find a place to live. And it had been truly one of the worst years of my life, which is saying something. And I was using alcohol to cope. I was drinking too much. However, I was drinking more than one should. However, I wasn't blacking out. I wasn't really getting wasted. I was drinking alone, which isn't a good idea. And I was, yeah, so, and also my partner had been sort of court mandated to do AA, which, oh, she turned it on again. I don't know if it's loud to you guys, but it's distracting to me, so I'll just try to ignore it. And it had really been not doing anything for him either, but I thought maybe it would help me. And even more than wanting to stop drinking, which I did, I wanted to be part of a supportive community. Oh my God. I haven't had very good luck making friends in the past, and I still struggle with being in groups socially. However, I just sort of figured that it was worth a shot. And honestly, my first meeting, I was totally all in. I was thrilled. I got a million numbers. I immediately approached somebody and asked them to be my sponsor. And I started calling people every day. So there was that. I couldn't make it to any other AA meetings really because they weren't in walking distance. But the guy who I asked to be my sponsor was in his 70s, and we agreed to meet for coffee. And that was he was a great person, and I wish that he had taken me on as a sponsee, although he had a lot of others, and And anyway, we got coffee, and I sort of told him a little bit about my backstory, and he told me a little bit about his. And he didn't have the trauma that I do, and he didn't feel like it would work, and he had a lot of other sponsors. So that was not so much discouraging as just a little disappointing. But what did take me aback was when, like, I mentioned therapy. I think maybe that therapy has been really helpful for me. And he said that he did not believe that I would need therapy anymore once I stopped drinking. And I have been in therapy decades before I started drinking. God damn it. Anyway, after that, oh God, what order did this shit happen? So the first one, the second person who I approached about maybe being a sponsor was my partner's then pseudo temporary sponsor. And this guy I'm gonna call Todd. So Todd, good girl, man. Get this. So Todd wanted to take me to detox. I have since learned he does this a lot. He gives a lot of people rides to detox, and he recommends it, and that's great. And I think I'm very happy that he does that. He probably does a lot of good for a lot of people. And we got coffee and got on like a house on fire. Both very neurodivergent. It's one of the worst cases of ADHD I've ever seen. Although something took me aback about that the first time, like, no sooner had I got into his car, like within like 5 minutes, I guess I asked him how he met his wife, and found out that the way that he met his wife was that he was stalking her then husband, intending to kill him because her then husband and his then wife were having an affair. Even more than like that in and of itself being a little alarming, the fact that he was so happy to tell me about it as though it wasn't something to keep to yourself. Anyway, but he was great. However, we were going to get coffee again, and then he was going to take me to detox like the day after that. And we didn't make it into the cafe because my dad had broken his neck, he had this pain medication, and he had misplaced it. And they wanted to know if I had taken it. And I was very upset about that. However, it was something that I had talked about, being upset about, and I didn't really necessarily want to talk about it anymore. What I did mention was, my dad's cognitive changes and shit. For them to accuse me, which I guess not, but why are we talking about that? Anyway, I was just sort of like I was confused. I was like, all right, I guess, but like, why? Can we discuss something else? And then he said, he told me that I was really angry. And I remember not feeling angry and saying, I'm not angry. And then it got weird, because he started yelling, and he like, his eyes got really wide, and he was like, oh, so if I'm saying fuck you and doing this all in your face, he was waving his hands around my face, which, if any of you know my history, is not something that I do well with. So I got out of the car and I walked home. It wasn't that far. And then, he also, I repeated something that he had said, and he said he didn't say that. It's just very casual gaslighting and needless antagonism. So I got out and I went home. I did not go to detox. Then the next person who I did ask to be my sponsor, and she did agree to be my sponsor, was, I'll call her Joy. And she was, cool, kind of artsy alternative, older lady, older than me. And she would ask me how many days I had, and I'd be like, I'm working on one. And she'd be like, you're a miracle, and made me feel so good about myself. And I sort of, not necessarily maternal, but like, I have always longed for, good, stable relationships just interpersonal relationships with women, and women who are older than me who can teach me stuff. And like, she invited me over to her place and one time, and we talked for a long time, and it was a great conversation, and I really liked her. And she agreed to be my sponsor, so I was really happy about that. And then I got COVID, so I couldn't go to AA for like 2 weeks. And during that time, there were two separate occasions that I drank, two different nights, not in chronological order. And I, I would just, I didn't let it bother me because it was like, wow, that's pretty good, in my opinion, for like from drinking every single day to only twice in a 2 week period. However, and then like, I mean, I called her because I was freaking out about the eviction thing, and I was trying to find a place to live, and I couldn't find a place to live. And she called me back, and I meant like when I mentioned, I can't find a place to live. By the way, she owns her apartment. I do not believe that she paid for it. Her parents have a lot of money, so there's an Arrested Development there. And I mentioned this because she was like, well, the ninth step teaches us that God will remove all financial insecurities. Cool. I'm not there. And that don't happen. Like, but I never argued against her believing in God or anything like that. But it was just like, well, okay. And, but then I mentioned that I had messed up twice in the past 2 weeks, and I think the thing that did it was when I said, and I'm not beating myself up about it. And I already knew, she said a lot that she understood me, which was like, I believe that she understood what I said, but I mean, we had known each other for like 2 weeks. I don't know how she, and so I wasn't really banking on that. And then she would say, in this conversation several times, she was like, oh, I understand you. I am you. You don't know shit about me. And I never said that. I was polite, at least for the most part. But she was upset with me when I said that. And in the voice message I had left her, I had said something, I'm worried that I'm one of these people who's fundamentally incapable of being honest with themselves. And I said that because, and this does not happen in most meetings, every single meeting I went to there, they would read this bit about there are some people who are fundamentally incapable of being honest with themselves. It's not their fault. They seem to be born that way and they don't belong here. So immediately triggered my imposter syndrome, obviously. And very much, the attitude seemed to me to be like, if this doesn't work for you, it's your fault. And she responded to that saying like, that was such a moment of clarity for you. No. I'm not fundamentally incapable of being honest with myself. I just question that when everybody around me is questioning it, which people were. She asked me if I really wanted to stop drinking, and I was like, yeah, I do. And she rambled for a little while about, like, I don't remember, just how I would respond to a text message. And I started getting an impression eventually. I was like, do you not believe me? And she said, I think you want to stop drinking. Okay, I kind of explicitly told you that I do want to stop drinking. I don't know why I would lie about that. Why do you feel that way? And she said that she would have believed me if I had sounded quote unquote more desperate. In the voicemail I left for her, I was very desperate, but that is not like me. Even when I am desperate, I don't let myself seem desperate. Anyway, that was the biggest moment of gaslighting the whole time. Just this idea that you can tell somebody that you do want to stop drinking and they can tell you that you're wrong. That is one of the worst parts of gaslighting, is that the gaslit person stops trusting themselves and what they feel and how they perceive things to be accurate, and instead they start trusting the person who's gaslighting them, because that person is basically saying your experience of, in this case, yourself and your internal space is wrong, and I know better than you, what that experience is. So you should trust me over yourself when and that is, I wasn't going to say any of this. She didn't know what gaslighting meant. And another thing I noticed was, especially people with a lot of seniorities, a lot of sober time, nothing you say is something that they're going to listen to, and everything that you say that they interpret as critical of AA is an excuse. So, I also brought up, and I had told her about this before, but I don't think she was listening for the aforementioned reason. I brought up the study Rat Park, which is, I haven't made a video about that, but essentially, because, like, it showed this idea that the antidote to addiction is not solely abstinence, but that abstinence can be achieved through sense of community and leading a life that one wants to live. And I told her that, I want to stop drinking, but the first guy I talked to was in his 70s. He showed me a scar on his wrist and said the thing that nobody talks about is how many people kill themselves after they get sober. And I didn't say anything at the time, but I was just like, wow, I think I would rather, like, not die if it comes to that. If it's going to be between taking a shot and ending my life, I'm going to do the thing that allows me to live a little bit longer, because that way I have a chance. And my big thing, I wanted to kill myself all of the time until, the age of, 28? And so that was something I was really nervous about already. Anyway, I told Joy, I am more focused right now on living a life that is more tolerable to me, building a life that I like to live, and I think that's A, more important, and B, will make it easier for me to stop drinking. They don't like that. That's an excuse. I don't like. So, oh right, and she also told me that what was it? Shit. Right. Although we had in the first time we had hung out, she had said that she would be my friend if whether or not I was in AA. However, now that she had decided that I don't belong in AA, she made that very clear. She was like, if you ever want to come back, and it's like, I don't think you can kick me out like that. But she said that being my friend was emotionally enabling me. Because, according to her, I didn't really want to stop drinking. And according to her, I was fundamentally incapable of being honest with myself, and according to her, I didn't belong in that AA meeting. So that made me feel like utter shit, especially when, after the conversation, she texted me to say, give me a call if you ever want to stop drinking. And the last time I spoke to her, I sent her a text that said, I explicitly told you that I do want to stop drinking. Repeatedly. You did not believe me. So that was that, for that. However, a couple weeks later, I was still really going through it, trying to find an apartment, and I was still drinking to cope, and I was drinking too much, and I was, I didn't have a lot of support. So I called another person, who I'll call Ken, who I thought initially I saw, I heard some of the stuff he said, and I was like, this guy is not to be trusted. And I don't really know why. It was just a vibe that I got. But, he also seemed intelligent, and he seemed to have, experience with psychedelics, and he seemed to be a little bit more open-minded. So he came by, we had tea, and I was sort of inching around, trying to say it without saying it, how AA seems very cult-like. And he's like, oh yeah, it's a cult. So that made me feel a little bit better. And we started talking more often on the phone. And he was trying to get me to go to meetings, but I know better. I would drink after meetings, and I was drinking more toxically and more in general while I was going to AA. So, he was saying all the right things though, and he seemed supportive. And then at one point he was just like, what I think you need to do is get a sponsor that you trust. So I asked him to be my sponsor, unsure whether or not he was going to treat me like a guy or at least not a sexual target. The first thing he said after I asked him that was, "Oh yeah, no, I think I could respect that boundary." And went on to talk about all of the women that he'd slept with, who he met early on in AA. And then he said when he referred to my own gender thing, he was like, you're doing your androgynous thing. It's like, no, I have a male name. I go by he, him pronouns. I take testosterone. My voice is deeper than yours. What are you talking about? So that's sort of, I was taken aback by that. And he started texting me more. He was like saying like, I want you to trust me. And I was like, well, okay, I understand that. Trust really does take time to build, and I have had a lot of bad experiences, so it's not just a matter of just that. And he was pushing harder and harder for me to go to meetings and for where that I couldn't get to. Like, he wasn't offering me a ride, he just wanted me to show up. Fine. And I was just like, you asked me if I was willing to do whatever it takes to be sober. This is what it takes right now. I'm not ready for that. And I started not feeling like he was not listening to me at all. He was disregarding, not actively verbally, but I realized as we would talk that he wasn't listening to anything that I had said, and he wasn't interested in. He wanted to hear the lines like all of them do, the lines from the big book that. I don't say lines unless I'm playing a part, because to me that feels disingenuous. But then eventually I texted him and was like, you and I talked about how AA is a cult. I don't want to join a cult. And, oh God, I don't want to pull up the actual texts, but I also was like, and I wasn't talking about him. I was talking about AA. I said, I recognize predatory behavior when I see it. He really got upset about that and thought I was accusing him of being a predator, and the way he was like, well, as a male that makes me feel unsafe. People say, if people are telling you that you're a predator, it's because they feel unsafe around you. It's not about, anyway, that went poorly, and I sort of let it go after that. However, I recently made a new friend who used to live in my building, and I don't want to say too much about her because, like, sort of confidentiality thing, but I love her to death, and we would be talking on the phone, like, for an hour a day at least. She had developed a dependency on alcohol and was not having fun with it and wanted to go to detox. So I called the only person who I really knew who could help with that, Todd. And it seemed fine. He seemed very happy to give her a ride. And, like, I obviously didn't bring up any of the bullshit from before. And I was really happy about that. Things seemed good. My friend, I'll call her Lisa, wanted me to go too, however, because for understandable reasons, she didn't want to just get in a car with a strange man. So we were talking about that. And she stayed with me the night before she went, and I was just like, my dog has an appointment with her vet at 10, so could we work around that? And he's like, let me get this straight. Your friend is making a major decision, it's such a serious thing for her, and you are delaying it because you want to take your dog to the vet? Yeah. I am responsible for my dog and for her health. I'm not responsible for Lisa. And are you doing something that means that you can't do it afterwards? I was willing to get up earlier so that we could do it first. But he was like, well, can we just drop the dog off? I told her that, like, she can count that tomorrow as a sober day if we get her in before noon. I was just sort of like, I understand that, and I that makes sense to me. However, I think that getting her in at all is sort of the priority, and I think that she will agree that having one fewer sober days is not as big of a priority as getting in at all. That was He told me that, you're I was like, I'm doing my best by my friend, and this is how it is. And he said, you're doing what's best for you, for your dog. Your friend is not a priority. This is all in text, by the way. And I was just like, look, okay, what you said hurts me, but that doesn't matter right now. What matters is Lisa and getting Lisa to detox. And the last text I got from him was, please stop texting me. I don't want to talk to you at all about anything, truly. All right. The feeling was extremely mutual. And I'm very proud of myself because I was able to keep my big ass mouth shut and not say anything about that. I just let it drop. And then, like, the next morning, he met up with Lisa. And Lisa called me in tears that morning, being like, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go not with this guy, not now. And, like, we talked about why. And apparently he had been calling her all morning, trying to get her to go now. And apparently talking shit about me. At one point she was like, he does not like you. And I was like, okay, I don't dislike him. And it seemed like he wasn't gonna, he was gonna make it a lot harder. He didn't want me to go. So that was fine with me. And Lisa and I talked, and, she agreed that, like, it's just like a half-hour drive. I never have to talk to him again. I was like, he's just a ride to detox. You don't have to listen to him. And that did work. And I was really happy about that. And I still thanked Todd for all of his help. And I did not comment on any of the I think of it as bait almost. I don't really know. And thought that would be that. Then he had gone through my partner to ask if Lisa needed a ride back from detox, which she's getting out tomorrow, instead of just texting me himself. And I think that's really shitty to do to my partner, because he's not even involved. And however, I did, when I called Lisa earlier, I did ask, and she was like, absolutely not. No, I'll just get an Uber. I will pay for it myself. I don't care. I'm not going to be around him. And so instead of going through my boyfriend, because I'm not going to treat him like that, I sent him one more text message that's just like, Lisa doesn't want a ride back from VB tomorrow. Thank you so much for the offer. I probably shouldn't be as spooked as I am. However, knowing that this guy has already stalked people with the intention of murdering them, and the fact that the AA meeting that I no longer go to is 1 block away from my building, and last night I was walking my dog and I saw him and he stared at me from across the street the whole way, and I sort of pretended that I didn't see. And the guy who got mad that he thought that I was calling him a predator, also, I don't know if he lives across the street and the other way, but his truck wasn't before, is now always parked behind my building. Which, and twice now, I've seen him be in his car, see me, and get out of the car and start just sort of fucking around, not doing anything. Which made me think that he wanted me to see him. I don't know. And then Joy lives in a building on my block. I haven't seen her, thank goodness. I don't care. I'm fine to just, like, tolerate seeing these people in my day-to-day. I just wish I didn't have to. And I don't understand any of this. Like, because I have not behaved with animosity at any time. Or I don't think I have. I certainly haven't had malice in my heart or whatever. I haven't wanted to hurt anybody, and I haven't wanted to make anybody feel any kind of way, except good. So yeah, so that was that. Um, on, on a brighter note, this is my second day without a drink, and I'm not drinking every night anymore, and when I do, I'm not getting drunk. And I feel myself wanting to less and less. Now that I have a place to live, I have a place to live where I feel safe, and I am currently living a life that I like living. And I feel good about myself as the way that I am in this world. And that, as I sort of anticipated, has been way more crucial than trying to than the religious aspect of all that. Don't let this put you off of AA if you are considering it or if it works for you, because it does work for some people, and I think that's great. And none of this narrative is reflective of AA itself. It's reflective the same way that, like, religion in itself isn't evil or exploitative. However, it is a very effective way to control people through religion. AA is the same way. So, if you're into it, find a congregation, that's like, and there are a lot of online meetings and shit like that. However, if AA hasn't worked for you, that's not on you. There is no zero data that suggests that AA is any more effective than any other method of quitting, including just not doing it anymore. And AA, I think, really relies a lot on shame, which I think is really unfortunate because I think most of us have PTSD, or most people who end up with substance abuse problems have PTSD. Shame isn't very good for us because we're already ashamed. That's sort of why we do it. Anyway, that's my story. I hope you love my hat as much as I do. And yeah, as a little aside, I'm going to be going up to my sister's place with the whole family to her new house, and it's going to be a blast, and there might even be snow. So, yeah. Yeah, that's all I had to say. Okay, I love you, Internet.